Bonjour! Christmas time is here, and I'm feeling the cold, brisk weather from outside. I'm at my house and it's really, really cold. Last week I was freezing to death. Oh my god, it was about like 1 to 10 degrees Celsius. And I watched the news on the CBC in Canada on YouTube, and I saw people driving through the treacherous ice snowy roads in British Columbia, BC. Cars were sliding and hitting other cars. And people were too stubborn to stay off the roads, but you know, if I lived there, I probably wouldn't drive. I'll just walk to work, put on a wool cap, gloves on my hands, a jacket on, a scarf wrapped around my neck, and just go out and just go out and just walk through that snow, or better yet, I'll just catch the bus to work. I'm not driving. I'm not risking it. But I heard that people who live in Canada, and when it snows in the wintertime, they put snow tires on their cars, and let's see, they have a snow plowing service where they remove snow off the roads and put salt on the roads so people can drive their cars on the roads. So, yeah, but me, I wouldn't drive. I wouldn't get in a car and try to drive to work. I wouldn't do it. I'll just walk or catch the bus. That's what I would do. All right, on to this video. Okay, in this video, I'm going to be reading a post on Reddit, and it's titled "Why America Sucks and will never get better." Why America sucks and will never get better. It's a post by r/rant, and it was posted 2 years ago. Yeah, what can I say? America does suck. It sucked. It sucked in the past, and it sucks now. And I don't see the country getting any better. You had a mass shooting in Chesapeake, Virginia, and one in Colorado. And one of my subscribers told me that the shooter in Colorado was non-binary. And I heard about this on the news, and this person was correct. And also, this person wants to move to the United States, regardless of how bad it is. But before I read this, well, after I read this post in this voice recording podcast style video, he wouldn't care. He still want to move to this country, regardless of all the problems this country has. And you got people who are from other countries, and they want to move here, and they don't care about all the mass shootings and all the problems in this country. They don't care. I guess they want to move here because because a lot of people from other countries complain that their country sucks and say America's great. It's like this. Some people say America's great. Some people say it's not great. Some people say their country is great. Some say their country isn't great. So it's, everybody has something to say. But, They can believe what they want to believe. So there's no use of getting through to people like that. They're going to believe what they want to believe. Okay, let me read this post on Reddit, and it's titled, Why America Sucks and Will Never Get Better. It reads as follows: The United States of America is a bad country. It just is. After the results of the 2020 election, I can confidently say it is factually bad. 2020 has killed what little hope I had of America becoming a decent, civilized country like Canada, Australia, New Zealand, or any Western European country. Trump may have lost, yes, but because of his repeated copes, America is on the verge of being over forever. The worst thing that could happen to this country has happened. To be clear here, I unfortunately am American, 22 years old. I was born here, spent my whole life here, but over the past 7 to 8 years, I have slowly woken to the reality that this country is a terrible place to live, in contrast to the weird number one propaganda constantly fed at me. When Trump announced his campaign in 2015, during my senior year of high school, I was at a time where I was beginning to distance myself from America's values. I simply didn't want anything to do with them. I also began to shy away from politics, as I could feel society literally breaking in half over whose side you were on. Up to this point, I hadn't really paid attention to politics. But for the 2020 campaigns, for the first time, I actually sat down in front of my TV and watched the entirety of the debates of Trump versus Biden. We're all stuck inside during this quarantine anyways. So it's not like I had anything else to do. I want to talk in detail about how America ended up where it is today and why there is absolutely no way it can be fixed. Now I believe the concept of America isn't inherently bad. It's just horribly executed. It's plagued with problems. All of which were created internationally, which is why they are so infuriating to me. I could spend hours talking about what problems I have with America, but it isn't going to fix anything. It isn't going to fix shit. This country's a motherfucking sinking ship. For the sake of simplicity, I've narrowed down the major problems with America to 3. Number 1, Americans are poorly educated. This is objectively my biggest problem with America and what I believe is the least enriching aspect of any non-American. My K through 12 experience has reminded me that America simply doesn't value the lives of its youngest citizens. It doesn't value the lives of everybody. Ever looked at a typical American school versus one in Europe. The American one resembles a jail. Yeah, I've been in one. I went to a school. It felt like I was in jail. The education system isn't really designed to educate kids at all or prepare them for life as adults. Instead, it trains them to fear the world around them and to be complacent from performing active shooter drills. More on that later. To talking numerous standardized tests, dumb, uneducated citizens result in dumb, uneducated leaders, aka Trump. Worst of all, the less fortunate students are vulnerable to the school to prison pipeline, which further reduces their future prospects. No other country in the world treats its students like this, as property rather than as humans. Maybe with the exception of North Korea. A child's ability to question everything and see through the eyes of a skeptic isn't fostered in schools because it goes against how the entire school system is designed. Classes that inspire creativity, art, band, etc. get set aside or eliminated completely in favor of more testing. The end result, zero creativity and zero innovation, the two key things America needs to survive in the 21st century. Many schools would rather the children just listen to what they're told without proving their own ideas. No wonder conservatives think of things like universal health care, child care, housing, retirement, etc. Things the rest of the world takes for granted as socialism/communism. Well, how about children with special needs, disabled children? You have this teacher in every school, they exist in every school. They will tell anybody who isn't disabled or not, and they're not doing so well in school, they'll say, oh, you're not going to make it in the real world. You're not going to survive. You're going to be a failure. And I remember my dad telling me, why you want to move to France? Why you want to move to a second-rate country? And when you move to France, you're never going to learn the French language. You're never going to catch on to learn the language. It's all on you because you have a learning disability. You're going to fail in that country and you're going to lose it. Yeah. And all that abuse is the reason why we have so many mass shootings. That Uvalde mass shooter, he was bullied and picked on because he had a stutter, and he shot his grandmother in the face because his grandmother told him he was worthless and he wasn't going to amount to anything. So yeah. Okay, let me continue. And this is going into like mass shootings on number 2. Number 2, you can't live life due to our gun violence epidemic. You can't live life due to our gun violence epidemic. If you've paid attention to US news over the past decade or so, you know that mass shootings have become an unfortunate fact of life in America. This is another main reason why American life feels so empty and soulless. And you are right on that. Some people in America, they have no soul. You look in their eyes, it's just nothing. People are just like, they're just stiff robots. And I see this everywhere. I saw it when I went to get my motor vehicle license renewed at a Texas DPS district office. Texas's version of the DMV, the Department of Motor Vehicles. You can't enjoy the experience of attending a concert, church, fair, movie theater to watch a film, or really anywhere with a large crowd due to the constant paranoia that anyone can whip out a gun and open fire. The American psyche is fucked up. Americans just live in fear because of mass shootings. If we had strict gun control, people wouldn't be acting like this. And if you treat people who've been abused and torn down by society in a dysfunctional family that make them be alone and make them act out and become a mass shooter, if we treat these people right, have gun control, maybe this country will be better. I'm gonna continue reading this. This is all that's in this paragraph, this sentence from this post. You always have to watch everyone around you, looking behind your back for any suspicious activity. And after a mass shooting occurs, there's always an outcry from the public to do something, to stop them from happening. And the best we can do is harden public spaces, install metal detectors and CCTV cameras, deploy more cops, etc. That's not going to do anything. That's not going to do shit. Yeah, and giving more guns to teachers, arming teachers with guns, and people going out and buying more guns, and somehow society is going to be safe. But you're not improving, you're not solving the problem that way. You're just making the problem even worse. And that's why you got these conservatives, the members of the NRA, and these gun nuts. That's just something they just don't understand. And they want to say that gun control is asinine. Australia's strict gun control is asinine. No, what you guys want in society for protection is asinine. I think you guys got it backwards. But in my option, it only reinforces the paranoia by sending the message of something bad is going to happen here. But it gets worse. If I somehow did survive a gunshot wound, I'd have to shell out hundreds or even thousands of dollars in medical bills, thanks to our abysmal, beyond repair healthcare system. Money that I simply do not have. Yep, the American healthcare system sucks. It sucks. I'm just going to say it. It's garbage. Obamacare was a step in the right direction, but it didn't solve all the problems in the healthcare system that existed before it. It's actually a right-wing plan that Richard Nixon and the Republicans will go for. So I stay away from public places. This has a huge impact on my mental health, and it isn't something that antidepressants, of which we're the world's largest consumer of, can't cure. The logic behind that decision is pretty simple. I can't get shot if I just stay home. No other country in the world seems to have this problem. They've all learned their lesson after experiencing mass shootings themselves by strengthening their social safety nets and taking guns away from those who shouldn't have them. That is something America will unfortunately never do. This reality becomes apparent for me after the Sandy Hook shooting, which occurred when I was a high school freshman. If assault rifles are more valuable to America than the lives of citizens, how could I possibly feel safe anywhere? Good question. Number 3, our population is too divided to be united. You probably saw this one coming for miles or kilometers for those who use the metric system, aka the majority of the world. America will still be stuck on the imperial system, or the U.S. customary system, which is a modified version of the imperial system. I sort of knew this before the COVID-19 pandemic broke out. But I'm afraid we as a population are too divided to even come together on the aforementioned issues I've mentioned and more. For example, gun control. The liberals in the blue states, mainly in the Northeast and on the West Coast, are all in for it. But the conservatives in the red states the phone is ringing. Shit. Okay. Okay. Let me finish this, folks. Mainly in the South and Midwest. Let me start over again before I was interrupted by the phone ringing. Okay. For example, gun control. The liberals in the blue states, mainly in the Northeast and on the West Coast, are all for it. But the conservatives in the red states, mainly in the South and Midwest, are triggered just by the mention of it. The us versus them mentality is why America will never make progress on social issues. The only time I ever feel a sense of unity in the air is after a terrorist attack. Sorry about that, folks. Let me get myself situated. I had to go in the room to read this post on my smartphone because the phone was ringing. Okay, let me continue. I don't want to waste any time. I want to bore any one of you to death. The only time I ever feel a sense of unity in the air is after a terrorist attack or natural disaster. After that's over, it's back to hating each other. The result of the 2020 election, where 73 million of my fellow countrymen voted for a repeat of the 4 years of fascism, racism, police brutality, kids in cages, etc., we experienced under the Trump administration was the final straw for me. Think about that. 73 billion people. That's more than the number of votes Obama got in 2008 and 2012, and even more than what Trump got in 2016. What was so sobering about this is facing the reality that so many people I lived with, who I thought were good people, had no heart for humanity whatsoever. To vote once for a man that has committed crimes against humanity is redeemable, but to vote for them twice is just simply humane. It's plainly obvious that these people would never comply with a mask order, get vaccinated, or anything like that, which would help stop the spread of COVID-19 in America. The sane people like me would, but these things wouldn't. That is why COVID will go permanent in America, and the outside world will leave its borders closed to us forever. This means trade stops, business stops, and economic immobility becomes severely limited. Isolating a country from the world is the perfect environment for fascism to take hold. Think Nazi Germany, the USSR, or North Korea. These people are essentially written off as far as I'm concerned. If we can't simply live together in harmony as one country, why don't we just split off and form separate countries? That's not going to work. If US states break away from each other and become countries, some will be horrible countries, some won't. But they're all going to have the same mindset. I mean, we might as well be at this point. There are, of course, more problems with America than just these. Yes, having to drive to get anywhere and not seeing any people is annoying. A lot of shows on TV are trash, and there typically isn't anything fun to do. But I feel those are just minor nitpicks. If I went into detail about every problem I personally have, we'd be here all day. But do you seriously think that Joe Biden, of all people, can somehow pull an FDR and lead America out of this hellhole? He hasn't. Nope. America is over. Now, to be clear, America's problems didn't start when Trump took office. He didn't help, instead causing the ship to sink faster. But what really has led to America's downfall is its failure or willingness to properly invest in social goods that people in other countries take for granted, and to treat its citizens as people, from the youngest ones up. Ronald Reagan's trickle-down economics, his political choices based on an you're on your own ideologically, and reckless government spending, among other things, caused the ship to hit the iceberg decades ago. And it's been sinking slowly ever since. The COVID outbreak was the moment the ship broke in half. It was going to sink no matter what. But once that ship broke, it was all under the water. No matter what happens at this point, I think that we can all unitedly agree on and teach future generations that this is not how to run a country. Sorry about the phone ringing in the background. Yeah, I guess nobody's not going to watch this video because of that. But, I don't care because, I don't get a lot of views on these videos anyway. So, after reading that post, everything's true. Everything's true. This country is not a great country. And still, you got people from foreign countries, some of them, not all of them, still want to come here. They want to come here and they bash their own country. Well, I'm going to say this. Even though the country that you came from have problems, but your country's problems are not in the extreme as problems here in the US. Yeah, you can go on and on and on, talk about all the problems in your country. Yeah, I get that. I get that your universal healthcare system isn't funded and doctors aren't being paid enough and they're going on strike. Yeah, I get that. That's a problem that can be solved. But I'm not gonna listen. Yeah, I'm not gonna listen to people from other countries. I'm just gonna watch the news outlets from other countries and see what's going on and get my thoughts on it. So, there's a saying from the Premier of Ontario, Doug Ford, and he said it best. I am not in the business of getting into the affairs of other provinces or other countries. My focus is on Ontario and the people of Ontario. And yeah, Doug Ford is a premier of Ontario, and he's conservative, and he's destroying that Canadian province. So I'm not gonna get into that. So anyway, that's all I gotta say in this video. It's a good post, and I think I went over in this video, but I don't care. So thank you for watching the video. Cheers and au revoir.